We are a
Start over.
where's the recording? Yeah. Okay, start fresh. Hello, everybody. Zach with Seton Funds here with the Deal Deep Dive. I have been busy and missing in action, but I am here tonight to lead the Deal Deep Dive meeting. I'm excited. Seton Funds, we're in Eugene and we're a private lending company. It's actually a family business, and we're a direct portfolio lender, all short-term real estate deals, residential, commercial. Actually, our family's background is in commercial lending and commercial development, but we do a lot of residential as well. And I am here to go through the deal deep dive with you guys and analyze deals, talk through numbers. I look at deals, all different types of things every single day. And I'm here to help with any potential opportunities that you have, and talk through them, or workshop some things that either I'm working on or Grace is working on or one of the other investors in the group is working on. So yeah. And so we're going to start like we do most every meeting in the Oregon Real Estate Investors Association. You just introduce yourself when I call on you and say, who you are, your business, and then what you currently are working on, what you have, and then what you're wanting, your haves and wants. So let's start with Marianne.
I'm Marianne Taylor. My company is Result Investments. I actually started in 2018, but took a bit of a break because I took care of my dad, and then he passed away. Worked through a lot of that stuff, but I actually purchased his property from the estate, and it's a property that I want to divide and remodel the house and build another house on it. So that's kind of my immediate project. But I'm also working on wholesaling and looking for more fix and flips. So that's my objective currently.
Very nice. And how about Diana next up?
Hi, I'm in Lake Oswego and I'm a residential realtor. I've been studying with Liz Klingston and Laurel Mari. I don't know if you're familiar with them, but they're coaches out of Florida. And I've been trying to learn about wholesaling. It's just I'm having a hard time, I guess, wrapping my head around it. And I don't know that Oregon is really the best place to do it. I mean, I'd like to be able to do it here, but just because of the inflated prices and all of that, I'm thinking it might not be the best location for that. But I am going to be getting into some, I think my focus is going to be short-term rentals and midterm rentals. And I'm working with someone else on that. So I'm starting her course next week. I'm already in on one of her calls weekly, but this is a separate course. So anyway, I'm just new at all this.
Great. Happy to have you here. How about Brant?
Yeah, my name is Brant. I'm here in Eugene. I've been working with Grace. She's been mentoring me a little bit. I've been trying to get my first wholesale deal. So I haven't really done much with real estate yet. But that's kind of where I'm starting at right now. Just kind of marketing and trying to get that first one.
Nice to meet you, Brant. And how about Sarah?
I'm Sarah. I'm new to these meetings. This is my first one. So I'm in the Eugene area, but just moved here from the Dalles. And I have 2 properties up there, 3 doors. One of them I'm using for midterm rentals for traveling healthcare workers or other professionals. And the other one is a long-term rental. And then I have a property in Washington I inherited from my dad, but still kind of in the works trying to figure out what strategy I'm gonna use with that one. It has some non-paying tenants in it right now, unfortunately. So that's been holding me back from growing anything, but that's been what I'm working on, trying to figure out what to do with that property. So
Yeah.
yeah, I'm glad to be here. So thank you.
Meet you, Sarah. Welcome to your first meeting. Woo! Non-paying tenants. That sucks.
Yeah,
we can
because
talk.
they weren't really tenants. They were kind
Yeah.
of inherited.
Yeah.
It was my dad's girlfriend. So, and then
Oh.
she invited another guy to live with her, and then she moved out, and he's still there. So there's
Ugh.
no lease. It's messy. It's
Yuck.
not good. So I'm learning a lot through it though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And how about Kevin?
Oh, hey there. So I'm kind of eating off camera. Hi, I'm Kevin. I don't have any properties. I would like to get some. I haven't gone to many of these meetings too. I am a urologist, so I work as a surgeon, and that keeps me pretty busy. But whereas a few years ago it was like 80 or 100-hour weeks, it's a little bit more reasonable now. So I'm interested in finding properties that I can work to fix up and turn into rentals. I like doing rehab work. I think it's fun, and it's where my head's at. And I'm mostly interested in learning how to, determine value by looking at a property a little better, especially because
Sure.
I've only been out here for about 6 months now. So,
Where are you located?
oh, I'm in Eugene.
Eugene? All right.
Mhm.
And Grace?
Hey, everybody. Okay, so great to have everybody here. I'm the founder of Oregon Real Estate Investors Association, in case you don't know. And entering into our 6th year as a club. We have well entered into our 6th year. It's amazing. And the last 3 years have been strange. To say the least, but it's great. Now we have like this opportunity to meet online. This meeting used to be before COVID at Home Depot. That's where it used to be, upstairs in Home Depot, the deal deep dive or deal analysis, that kind of thing. But now it's great because we've learned how to share screens. We can see numbers and all that kind of stuff, and not just talk, but it's really educational, I think. I'm an investor. I have real estate rentals. I'm a flipper. I have 3 flips going on right now. I'm a wholesaler. I'm a mentor, like Grant mentioned. And I just want to say to Diana, wholesaling can be done in Oregon. Yes, I'm a wholesaler, and there's a lot of wholesales being done. So we need to talk to wrap your head around that. Okay.
That would be great. Thank you.
Yeah. And I also lend money through my IRA, my checkbook IRA. I have with me my business partner.
Hi, everybody.
Mickey Bracken. He's in charge too of the flips, and it's wearing a toll on him. Because one's in Burns and one's in Springfield. So
Nice
Oh,
job.
you suck. You sicked him on the Burns one, huh?
he liked
man.
it. He likes it.
I like that. Outfit.
He likes it. And update to you, Zach, the plumbing rough is done and the electrical rough is done.
Oh,
Woohoo!
sweet.
We're
We're
going
gonna
next.
do a draw on that?
I will be. I'll take pictures next week. I'll go up there. Okay.
Awesome.
Yeah, and welcome everyone. Good to see you. And first time, Sarah, cheers to you too.
Well, thank you everybody for joining. So, as I mentioned on the deal deep dive, this is our opportunity to workshop, talk through numbers, look at opportunities. So the first thing I want to do is open it up to the group and say, does anybody have a potential opportunity or a project they're working on that they need some help with, that we could talk through some of the numbers, come up with scenarios, options, things to work through the deal. Does anybody want to volunteer? No.
I'm surprised Brant doesn't have something, just shocked. And now he's disappeared.
And we
daughter-
have another late
Oh, there
joiner.
you're back. Brant, don't you have something? There we go.
Oh, I don't know, not off the top of my head.
All right, next time, work on it.
Well, I can pull in something that I'm working on then. What sounds good to the group? Would you guys like to look at kind of a relatively straightforward residential flip opportunity? Or something a bit more complicated? Some multifamily short-term rental?
I
type
vote
of
number
thing?
one.
Vote
Me
number
too.
one? Okay. Straightforward flipper. Okay, so I am looking at a deal up near Oregon City. Let me see if I can pull it up without giving away information about this person because I'm a licensed lender and that would be bad to share their personal information with you.
Uh-huh.
So let me see if I have a way of sharing it. I'm just going to find the property. So it is up in Oregon City. It is a house that was built, I believe, in 1906. Pretty cool house. Kind of tough to see the picture from a street view here, which I'm going to try and share my screen here. So this is actually being listed. Can you guys see that screen? So this is being listed by a wholesaler. So yes, wholesaling is possible. This is a older home. It's I believe it's being sold by an estate. The wholesaler is asking $375,000. The estimated rehab budget is, according to them, somewhere in the ballpark of 50 to 100,000. The second that I heard that, I said, okay, well, this wholesaler hasn't really done their homework if they have such a wide range on it. And then the investor that's coming to me, they said that the wholesaler is saying that the after repair value is going to be about $555,000. He thinks maybe a bit more conservative, maybe around 525, 535. When I ran my comparables, I thought in the current market, it might be closer to, say, 500. Unfortunately, as you guys can guess, with a sale price of 375 and a $100,000 rehab budget, the numbers didn't work at all. And I told her should not do this deal, especially given the age of the home and all of the question marks around that. But she is getting pretty confident that she can talk that wholesaler down somehow, that the estate that's selling it can drop that price as low as, say, 300,000. So knocking 75,000 right off the price. In that case, she would be into it theoretically about $400,000 between the purchase and rehab, hoping to sell it for around 535. So first question to the group, hopefully you've taken some notes on those numbers, is do you think that that's a big enough profit margin? With a 300,000 sale price, 100,000 rehab, and 535, factoring in both the cost of yours truly, a private lender, funding it, and also holding costs and selling costs. Does anybody have an opinion? Maybe
think it'd be pretty close. As far
Pretty
as,
close.
yeah, it'd still make me a little nervous.
Yeah, so let me see. Can you
Depending on
guys-
the holding costs and what your costs are.
let me make sure I'm sharing my right screen so that I don't accidentally show you my client. See my calculator? Yes.
Yes, we can see.
So when somebody says 535,000 in today's market, and she's actually a licensed agent, so she gets to credit her commission back. But I'm gonna go ahead and take 95% of that. She's probably gonna give away 5% in selling costs, maybe a bit more. So net proceeds on a sale at 535, if she were to get that, was like 508. With 400,000 in costs, with a lender like myself, she's probably going to have to put $40,000 to $50,000 down, which means that she's going to have a loan of roughly, 360,000 on a project like that. And from a private lender like myself, on a $360,000 loan, she's going to have, if it's extremely short term, it's going to be about a 3% origination fee just for the pleasure of borrowing that money. So that right there is $10,800 that's added to her down payment. In addition, she's going to have some other administrative fees and closing costs. I would, right off the bat, probably round that up to about 15,000 at the end of the day when you factor in taxes, insurance, and any other fees. So she's going to have, like I said, like about 55,000 cash into the deal up front. And her loan from a lender like us is going to be about 360,000. On a hard money loan on this type of a flip, she's also going to be looking at payments of a little less than 1% per month on her outstanding balance. So over the course of, say, like a 6-9 month hold period, while she's flipping the house, she's going to be looking at payments anywhere from, 2,600 up to 3,600 a month. So if you multiply that by, say, 9 months, so let's just average it out to say 3,250 a month in interest over the course of 9 months. It actually might be a little bit higher. So just her holding costs and pure interest is going to be about $29,000. Loan fees and closing costs added that 15 that I mentioned before. And so now she's at additional costs in addition to that purchase price of $44,250. So like I said, she was buying it for 300, 100,000 in repairs. She now has 44,250 in additional costs. So she's at a total of $444,250. And we did the math before that if she were to sell that thing for 535, she's got about 508,000 in proceeds, including her real estate commissions. So that's not a terrible profit. That's about $64,000. That's not terrible. The problem that I would have with this deal that I think any investor should be aware of, and Grace is probably especially aware of it with the current flip that she's doing, is going into a 100-year-old house thinking that $100,000 is all you're going to spend and ain't no chance you're going to go over that. Going into a house like that, you could open up a wall, you could start, rehabbing a kitchen, rehabbing a bathroom. All of a sudden you find out that the place has to be replumbed, rewired. You find knob and tube where there shouldn't have been knob and tube or something like that. Your 100,000 budget goes from 100,000 to 140 or so really, really quick. And you're then doing a 6, 9, 12-month project, because it gets even longer and harder when you start doing that, for basically 10, 20, $30,000 profit at the end of the day, which is essentially her real estate commissions. Like, so the conversation I had with her is like, I think you're better off passing on this deal and maybe just going and trying to like find a client to sell a house for and try and make that money. Because you're taking on so much risk. That deal would pencil a lot better if there wasn't the wholesaler in the middle. If she was buying it straight from the estate and she was getting it for say 250,000, and she was able to walk that thing and crawl that thing and get a contractor to just totally pin down the budget, that would make a lot more sense with a deal like that to me. Grace, what do you think?
Okay, I'm gonna just mention something. I think because you said it's Oregon City, to me, it would really depend on if she had relationships with contractors, electricians, plumbers, and that kind of stuff in Oregon City that she could put to work right away on that. That kind of confidence level will make a big difference in all these questions. And I understand what you're saying about being able to go through it and see and know what it is, but I would think even if it's being wholesale, she'd been able to walk through it, look at the electric and that kind of stuff. But yeah, doing the Burns project, which the seller said it's already been plumbed, the electrical panels have already been replaced, blah blah blah. Hell, they were done wrong. So had to hire new plumbers, get electrician in. It was like, yeah, it wasn't passing inspection. I couldn't even get the rough pass. So it really makes a difference if you know people in the area. And it took me so that closed in on October 1st. No, November 1st. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4 months to get the roughs done on that before I can even get the drywalls in. So yeah. I get it.
Contractors.
Yeah.
So that was also a little tidbit with the story is she's from Salem. She's not from Oregon City. She said she met this really nice contractor who went and walked the property with her for about 20 minutes and gave her a rough number of about 100,000. And I was like, have you ever worked with this guy? She said no. He said he could get it done in 75 days. I asked her, okay, so are you guys going to be getting new windows? Because they're all wood, the old 1900 wood windows. And she said, yep, we're going to replace all the windows. I said, well, that right there is maybe 6 weeks waiting, maybe even longer, depending on who you're buying them from. So it's good to know that stuff ahead of time and know when a contractor maybe isn't as trustworthy as you might think when you first meet them and have those relationships built.
I tell you, they be charming, those contractors.
Yeah. They love getting that contract.
Yeah.
And getting that job.
Yeah.
So that was
Kevin
kind
had
of
his hand up too.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah, and then some other questions. So Grace, when you're talking about getting roughs passed, educate me, what are you talking about?
Oh, yeah, sure. So when you get a permit,
Super newbie here.
super newbies,
Oh,
okay.
yeah.
So you get a permit for new plumbing. And this house, one in Burns, had the previous owner like installed a new bathroom upstairs, so there'd be 2 bathrooms in the house. Got a plumbing permit for 7 fixtures, a shower, a toilet, a water heater. Or 7. It must have been ripped out the whole downstairs bathroom too. So there's the shower, bathtub, toilet, so whatever. So and then hired a plumber to do it all, and it wasn't done to code. you could see the pipe and all that kind of stuff. But so I'm getting a hold of the inspector right away in that town, which he said, no, this won't pass, this won't pass. And the plumber that was previously hired wouldn't come back. So so then I get a new plumber to do the plumbing. And so a rough is getting all the plumbing pipes and that kind of stuff all put in, but not the fixtures, not the bathtub fixtures, not the turning of the knob, not the shower head and all that kind of stuff, because that's called the final. So the rough is prior to the final. So the rough is when you can see through the walls in electric as well, you know.
Gotcha, that makes sense.
Sure.
And then the
Yeah,
other
our
question I had
builders-
is if you're looking at wholesale deals, you know, and if I were to just look at a number like 100,000, it seems way too clean and round and perfect, and I would immediately suspect it. Do they give you any kind of, here's how I came up with that number? Or they itemize any of
good
that?
ones-
Is that common or not? Or is it just kind of up to you, or what's that look like?
The good ones definitely do.
So
What'd
what
you
that's
say,
called
Chris?
is a scope of work. A
Yep.
scope of work is what we send into Zach and let him know what that scope of work is, and that's list out all that kind of stuff. But yeah, some contractors will just say, yeah, 65,000. I'll
And
do it,
usually that's because they either don't want it or they don't know what they're doing.
or they're charming.
Yes.
And the good wholesalers are gonna break that down for the buyers. I think a really good wholesaler is gonna look at it as if they're doing the deal, and they're underwriting it just like they're doing their own deal, and they're breaking down that scope of work for the end buyer.
Right.
And if they can't find a buyer, some of those same wholesalers would then pick up the property themselves and go do it. So they would need to do that due diligence anyways. Um,
I
and
agree.
just to add what Grace was saying about, you know, rough ends and stuff like that. So like we do a lot of ground up construction, new builds, and those. So typically our builders will call it basically anything coming from the water hookups, the sewer hookups into the house, through the walls, anything that's open, that's your rough in, and you got to get that inspected. You close up the walls, and then anything beyond that, your finish, your final. They call it a top out, the top out plumbing, and that also, you know, passes for the final plumbing inspection. But same, you can say rough in mechanical for like HVAC ducting, rough in electrical, all that stuff. So it's kind of the two stages: rough in, top out, or rough in finish, rough in final is kind of the lingo. So
Cool.
so that was a no-go of a deal. And how about I look at a deal that was a go? Let's do that. So we had, let me see, again, I need to not show my borrower's information. So bear with me. One moment. So we are going to finance a property. This would be a good one. It is actually down in Oakland. I have an experienced investor that does a lot of flipping and rentals down in Douglas County. He knows a lot of people. He's also a licensed agent. Really good guy, knows what he's doing. He just sent me some pictures of the property that I'm trying to pull up. So this property, it is a single family home with a duplex on the same lot. He had it listed for sale, and he kept trying to sell it, It was not easily financeable. just because of like the multi-dwelling aspect of it, a lot of lenders, even if a property cash flows really well, when you have multiple structures, multiple dwellings, it can be tricky to get more traditional financing on it. And so people were struggling with that. So there's this duplex, there's a single family home in the back, and they were all leased up, and the tenants were all moving out. They were vacating, and he was trying to sell it to an investor. It didn't work out. So he said, okay, well, hey, sellers, I know I've been listing this for you, but let's see if I can buy it. And so on this one, he's going into each of the units now that they're vacant. He's going to put about 15 to 20,000 into each unit. He is purchasing it for a price of about 240,000, and 240,000. He thinks that he'll be able to renovate it for about 60,000 total. So he'll be into it about 300,000 in total, and he's going to have 3 rentals. Each of them are going to be 2-bedroom, 1-bath, and in the Oakland area, he can pretty quickly rent those for each about $1,100 a month. The detached single family home, he thinks he might be able to get about $1,200 or $1,250 for it, because it's kind of separated and a little bit more privacy than a duplex. Let me see if I can pull up some other photos here. You guys seeing my screen? The other house?
Yes, yes. I see the blue house.
Full house with the lights in front?
No, lights in front?
Ah, shoot.
It's a
Oh,
duplex with this SFR.
okay. Let's see. Where's the screen share button? There, new share. I have to share each and every photo, I guess.
Yeah,
I don't know.
unless you can get it into the screen.
So this little guy, this is I think the single family home.
Yeah.
And let me get some interior photos so you can check that out. I mean, it's not in terrible shape, and it's not in great shape either. He's definitely going to have to put some work into it. But I mean, it's just your modest little home, and he's in Oakland, and he's really just going to be doing some surface work. But my question, I guess, to the group would be, if he can get in total, let's say 1,100 a unit, 3,300 in rents each month, and he is going to be into the property for about 300,000 with 3,300 in gross rents. Do you think right there from a cash flow perspective that that's a good deal?
Great deal.
Great
Yeah.
deal.
Yeah. Cap rate.
So he's thinking that for 3,300 3,300 gross a month, he'll be grossing about 40,000 a year. If you take about, let's say, 30% off the top for expenses, let's say wasn't going to manage this himself, which he is. Let's say he didn't have some cheap labor, which he does, things like that to cut down his costs. But let's say he was stripping off 30% for his expenses. So at the end of the year, each year, he should have about 27,000 net operating income, or close to 28,000 actually net operating income on that property. For residential multifamily real estate in that area, you're probably looking at like a 6.5% to 7% cap rate, maybe a bit higher. But if it's in really good condition, in a good location, which this would be in, and really stable tenancy, all of that, probably I would put about a 7% cap rate on that. How I got to 7%, that's for another day. But that would put the value at about 400,000 on that net operating income. He paid 300,000 for it, basically, in both the purchase and rehab costs. And now what's even sweeter about the deal for him is he's picking up the property with basically 100% financing. The seller, who was, again, his client, offered to carry a note for $70,000 for 5 years at a 5% rate, which is better than any conventional loan right now, and is willing to subordinate to a short-term lender like us. So we're basically coming in offering the, that initial purchase money, his rehab loan, once he gets all of that rehab completed, and he will immediately refinance into a more long-term debt just for that first position loan, and keep the seller carry in second position if possible. And in that case, he'll be sitting on, a combined mortgage of roughly, with the 60,000 he added in repairs, roughly 300,000 on a projected value of 400,000. That's right in a sweet spot of about 75% loan to value. So, oh, Heather, hi. I just noticed you.
I came in late, dang it.
So, yeah, so on that one, great deal. And he's actually able to pull it off creatively with 100% financing.
100% seller financing.
Yeah, with the seller financing.
Yeah, seller financing, taking second position to you
Yes.
as the lender for the repairs. Yeah,
Does anybody have questions about how that would work?
yeah, you guys talk.
So that basically the down that you would essentially normally require because they're carrying it.
Yeah, it's actually a bit more than we would typically
Yeah.
require, especially from him. We've done a lot of deals with him, but yeah, it's a bit more than we would require. And when another lender, whether it's the seller or a friend or family member or somebody else, lends in a second position and they're willing to be what we call subordinate to our loan, fully subordinate. They even sign a subordination agreement saying that they're subordinate. We consider that almost the same as equity.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
Mm.
The
I've
second
not seen
lien
a deal like
holder,
that. That's cool.
yeah. The second lien holder, though, they need to be made aware that if the deal goes sideways and a lender like us has to foreclose, then they're probably going to get
Property.
wiped out.
Yeah.
And that's why we consider it the same as equity for all intents and purposes. At the
Yeah.
end of the day, for us, it basically is. The only difference is the buyer and the borrower, in that case, has less skin in the game. So we have to truly trust our borrower in that scenario that they're going to follow through on the project.
Well,
So.
kudos to the investor that worked that all out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Those are good conversations to have. There's a guy up in Portland area. Has anybody heard of the name Jeff Stevens? No?
Mm-hmm.
Really good speaker. I suggest you look him up.
Okay.
Jeff Stevens, seller
With a
financing.
V or a PH?
PH. Jeff Stevens, seller financing. He at a conference that I sponsored last year. And I think we're gonna do
That's
it again
what I
this
went
May.
to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you listen to him?
Oh, I remember him. He lives in not Sweet Home, but right there.
Lebanon?
Lebanon, thank you. Yeah.
Oh, he lives in Lebanon?
Yeah, and I wanted to hire him as a mentor actually to me.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
So yeah,
I have his info.
he has some really great strategies around and a really cool perspective on how to talk to sellers about seller financing. Well, I said that wrong, but how to, find a way to get that conversation going. Because it's just, I would say 99% of people don't know how it works and don't know that it exists, don't know that it's possible to, literally finance some of their equity in a home. And a lot of them don't understand that it can be advantageous for them from a tax perspective, from like a long-term income perspective. There's a lot of ways that you can communicate to them that it's actually to their advantage, and it's a win-win for everybody. So something to think about. Look him up, Jeff Stevens, seller financing.
I was going to go back to the example that you gave us. Did you say that house was in Oak Ridge?
Oakland,
Oakland. Okay.
yeah, which is by Roseburg, Douglas County
Oh.
area.
Right. Okay. I just didn't quite catch that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So that's multi-unit property, got a single family home and a duplex. Really good cash flow. So we're going to be doing the rehab loan on that. And I know we got some newer folks on here. So do you guys know how rehab loans would work? No. Okay. Well, earlier, Grace was talking about her project in Burns, and she also mentioned scope of work. And I said, okay, are you going to be doing a draw on that? And she said, yeah, pretty soon, because she just paid for plumbing, electrical, things like that. So basically, before a project starts, when we have a rehab loan in place, the borrower is going to get together a detailed scope of work, and they're going to break down a budget. It's typically going to be line item budget for each item in their rehab. Hopefully it's broken down in terms like plumbing, electrical, countertops, cabinets, flooring, windows, doors, those types of categories. One pitfall that people fall into sometimes is they just do bedroom 1, bedroom 2, kitchen, bathroom, and those general categories doesn't work as well. I don't recommend doing that. But they break down that scope of work and set what we hope is realistic budgets. A lender like us is going to review those budgets and make sure that they're reasonable, that they make sense given our inspection of the property, or at least our experience with the borrower, and that they have a budget for unforeseen costs, a contingency, typically 5 to 10% on the overall budget, at least, if not more, with older properties. And then our rehab loan is going to be held back. It's going to be like a credit line. It's almost like having a HELOC on the investment property. The only difference is that it's not revolving. You can't draw it, pay it down, draw it again, pay it down, draw it again. It's what we call a straight line of credit, and it's only advanced on work completed or on reimbursements. So with our loans, I can't speak for other lenders and how they do their disbursements, but you can typically take draws up to twice a month, and you have to present receipts or invoices for bills that are larger than $5,000 to $10,000. Other stuff you get a $200 receipt from Home Depot. I don't really want to see 5 million $200 receipts. No, thank you. But you total it up and you would plug it into a spreadsheet tracking how much, you need to be reimbursed. Or what's even better is if you've hired a general contractor and that general contractor itemizes and bills on an invoice, then a lender like us can verify the work's been done, verify that it's passed inspection, and then pay direct to the contractor, which works great. Because then the contractor gets to sign off and say, got the money, I waive my right to lien the property, and everybody's super happy.
Is that
That's the
similar
best.
to like a house build, also like a bottom up house build loan?
Yep.
You have to do the same thing with that, right?
Yep. And our process is a lot more streamlined than say like a bank would be. A bank is going to ask for documentation up the wazoo. And we don't necessarily require in every case formal construction contracts. We can also advance money up front for, say, down payments and deposits, if we have proper documentation for it. And we can get kind of creative with that stuff. But at the end of the day, it's all for, it's reserved for improvements that we can document are going into the property. And it's advanced over time. And you're only charged interest on that outstanding balance. So like I said, kind of like a HELOC, it's interest only on the outstanding balance as you draw it down. Any money that's not drawn, you never pay interest on it. So if you go under budget, congratulations. You're one of the only people I've ever seen come under budget, and you don't get charged interest on the money. So yeah, does anybody have any questions about that? No?
Not yet.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so
What's the response to contractors and builders if you tell them we're going to be paying you based off one of these loans and there's going to be documentation required to get draws and get you paid? Does this present problems to them? Is there any resistance to it or friction in that regard?
so
Mm.
occasionally,
Floated.
and so I'll say a few things to that. If you're working with a contractor who is uncomfortable working with a bank or a lender, I would myself question that contractor's experience, because hopefully they've been there a time or two with clients that are doing, say, like a construction loan on a house, and they have to deal with that stuff. If not, then if they have some kind of discomfort around that and you working with a rehab lender, I would go back to them and say, okay, what kind of payment plan, what kind of progress payments would you be comfortable with? They're typically going to do 50% upfront, 50% upon completion, or a third, or something like that. And just reiterate to them that those payments can be made by the lender on your behalf, and it would be timely, and they can communicate directly with a private lender like myself to facilitate that. If they still have discomfort over that and they say no, cash only, I would honestly find a different contractor, because that's somebody who's living paycheck to paycheck, who isn't going to have money to go buy some lumber without you cutting the check for him. And that's like, I'm not sure you want that type of person working for you. So that's where I'm at on that.
I'm gonna just like chime in there for a second, because
Yeah.
because of being involved with so many real estate investors as the leader of this club, and seeing what's happened with when they've hired contractors and paid them, and what happens with some contractors and some experienced people is that the contractor is taking that money to pay off for the previous bill of supplies, wood, whatever, and then then they're still stuck with no money to do your job, that kind of thing. And it's just a nightmare. So you really, really want to know your contractors well.
Yep. Knowing your contractor is absolutely critical.
Mhm.
I've seen that way too many times. One time we did a deal down in Grants Pass, and I swear they got in with some guy who was a total crook, and he was doing just enough work on the place. It was horrible quality work, but he was doing just enough work for them to keep paying him just a little bit of money so that he could rob Peter to pay Paul. Turns out that he was way behind paying his other suppliers and other subs for a different project. They got about $30,000 deep with this guy on this deal, and he ended up having a bunch of lawsuits and judgments against them, getting his CCB license taken away, and they had to end up going in and redoing everything. That rehab literally cost them double what they anticipated, because he was just doing shoddy work super fast just so he could get paid to go pay off some people that he owed money to. So
These draws only come out after the work's done, right?
yeah,
He's got to
so
provide some kind of proof that he's actually doing this.
on that transaction, on that deal, we actually didn't advance some of that money. We advanced an upfront payment, which I still regret. We advanced 50% down to that guy, who then obviously took that money elsewhere, and then they ended up making the other 50% payment in advance of him finishing, because he said, "Oh, I just really need the money," and this and that. And he gave excuse after excuse after excuse, and "Oh, I'll get it done in a couple weeks." And we never ended up reimbursing for that payment because it had not been finished. It had not passed inspection. So yeah, when we disperse, it has to be for work completed, or it can be for that upfront payment on a contract, which they did have a formal contract in place, and they did, go to the CCB and complain and dispute it and try and get their money back. But ultimately, I think that contractor went belly up and they never got anything, unfortunately. So sad
And
story.
they come up with a receipt that's more than the anticipated draw. Is that just on the lender to figure out how to make up the difference, or how's that situation go?
So if they come in and request more money than was budgeted, it would get pulled out of the contingency if there was a contingency in the budget. And if there wasn't any contingency left, which hopefully there should be if we budgeted right, then it's up to the borrower to cover it. And we're restricted on what we can advance. Our budgets for a rehab loan are going to be broken down by those line items like I talked about. So let's say you have 10,000 for plumbing, 10,000 for electrical, so on and so forth. Let's say the plumbing comes in, $2,000 too high, but you saved money by switching to ductless heating or something and putting in mini splits, and you saved 2,000 on a different budget. We have the flexibility that you could come to us and be like, okay, see, like on this category, I saved $2,000. So let's move it to this other category, and we can reallocate funds as we go. So the budgets are kind of like a living document in that way that we can move stuff around in. But generally the contingency is going to be what's needed for that. And then if the budgets totally get blown out, then I have to have that difficult conversation with the borrower and say, yeah, you gotta pay.
Where do you see that kind of thing happen the most, where the budgets are just totally off?
Where do I see it the most?
Mhm.
In terms of like
All those line items like, doors, windows, bathrooms, etc. What's usually the biggest mix up?
plumbing and electrical, because they've always got to get done by a licensed professional. And if you don't have one in your back pocket that like and trust, who's already inspected the property, and you think it's going to be, $10,000 to replace that electrical panel and do this, you could go out and get half a dozen bids, and they're going to be all over the place. And you could, at the end of the day, be spending a lot more just because those electricians are busy and bidding high. Those are definitely the hardest ones to budget. I'm doing a loan modification on one deal right now where the guy went into it with a $2,400 budget to fix some plugs and do some basic little stuff in the kitchen and change out light fixtures and just like some basic finish electrical stuff. He opened up a wall, discovered something he didn't realize. He figured out that there was a problem with at the same time, he figured out there was a problem with the power pole that was going to the property. And he went to the city. He couldn't figure out why the electrical had been shut off. He basically has to rewire everything, starting from the ground to the property, rewire the entire place. So it went from 2,400 to 24,000. And yeah, I'm like, you didn't get that inspected by an electrician? And he said, no, I didn't know. I had no idea. Thought it was just changing the plugs. So
Noted. Thank you.
Ouch.
Yeah, that's a big ouch.
luckily, he got the property for about, I think he bought it for 160, and its as is value was 400, just
Wow.
like tax assessor as is value. So there was room in it.
Lucked out.
Yeah.
Sort of.
Yeah, sort of. Well, it is 8 o'clock. That was our time. That's an hour of me jabbering at you guys.
Thanks, Zach. It was nice to meet you.
Nice to meet
Thank you
you.
very much.
Perfect.
Hope you enjoyed the deal deep dive.
Yay, Jill. Good
Great.
job. Good
Wish
job.
I wasn't late. But thank you.
Sorry, Heather.
That's okay.
And
My bad.
I want to say hi to Brittany, who's never been here before.
Hi, Brittany.
I just chatted with you, asking if you have any questions about Oregon RIA. So if you do, let me know. And there
Hi.
she is. Hi. Welcome.
Good to be here. I think I'm going to be coming to the meeting in March to
March
meet you guys.
14th. Okay, great. We'll meet you in person then.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Yay, awesome. Thanks,
Awesome.
Zach.
Back.
Well, thank you guys.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
Have a good night.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.